Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Someone somewhere is taking Raila Odinga for granted. Do you remember the question that after all these mass actions and demonstrations, then what next for Raila Odinga? That question has bothered very many people. And on Sunday, when Raila Odinga called a press conference to respond to Ruto's request to suspend demonstrations, there were two divided opinions. Some applauded this move, saying that it's good for the country because we now have peace and tranquility. But there is another school of thought that felt that Raila Odinga has been cheated yet again. We have always said one thing: you cannot do the same thing year and year expecting a different result. And Raila seems to be reading from the same page. When William Ruto called for a press conference, it is like he negated what they had agreed with Raila Odinga, because according to him, he only cherry-picked the issue of the IEBC selection panel. And that is what the country, that is what he fed the country with. He met the Kenya Kwanza caucuses yesterday, and they are ready to give their panel because it is going to be a 50-50 basis. So Raila Odinga also called a press conference today after having an Azimio caucuses. And Raila Odinga is telling the nation that what William Ruto fed the nation with fell far short from what they had spoken about. Because Raila insists that number one is the opening of the server. And he reiterates all the demands that he had given William Ruto, that those demands must be formed. And in the process, because I'm about to give you that video, Raila says that if William Ruto and his camp is going to play games, then they are going to call for mass actions and demonstrations as early as next week. In other words, he's telling his supporters to sit on standby.
I'm going to issue the statement coming out of this meeting. Deliberations of Azimio leadership since last Sunday. This has been a meeting of Azimio leadership to deliberate further on the development since last Sunday. The meeting reiterated our commitment to the envisaged dialogue between the parties. It further reiterated our determination to see all our core issues on the table as follows. 1. Addressing the cost of living. This meeting agreed that high cost of living is urgent and can't wait. 2. Audit of the servers. This meeting agreed that auditing the 2022 election servers is necessary and urgent. And here we add that we require forensic audit by experts. 3. Reform and reconstitution of the IEBC. This meeting agreed that electoral reforms are urgent and necessary for future elections. 4. Fidelity to the letter and spirit of multi-party democracy in Parliament. That members of Parliament who want to cross the aisle need to go back and seek the mandate of the electorate. It is the resolution of this meeting that a purely parliamentary process will not serve the intended ends. Our suggestion is to have a conversation at the national level through a process akin to the 2008 National Accord. To this end, the coalition proposes a team drawn from its rank both in Parliament and outside Bunge. We emphasize that all the issues we have laid out in public carry equal weight to us, although high cost of living must be addressed urgently. In this regard, we resolved that the regime must take immediate steps to bring back the cost of unga to Kenya shillings 100 as at the time of the election. We further resolved that Kenya Kwanza must take immediate steps to lower the costs of fuel and put a freeze on the recent increase in the cost of electricity. These are not matters for a committee. They are things that the government just needs to take a decision and implement. Further, we have resolved that the state must immediately take up the costs or waive all medical bills of victims of police brutality, including journalists and the last expense costs of those who lost their lives. Today I went to the hospital, but Kenyatta Hospital and Bagati Hospital, and I saw at first hand the police brutality. People who are unarmed and shot by the police on their groins, some in their stomachs, suffering at the hospitals. I know of a number of journalists who also were attacked and who are still hospitalized. And this is why what we are saying is a practice that must end. We have seen too much brutality since this Inspector General, Mr. Comey, took charge. It is even worse than the worst days of dictatorship in this country. Finally, we assure our people and Kenyans that our eyes are firmly on the ball and reiterate that we shall go back to the people as the earliest sign of lack of seriousness by the other side. In other words, if the other side is not serious, we will go back to our people and continue. End of statement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes?
Well, my name is Ibrahim Karanja from NTV. I have a couple of questions. President William Ruto, while making the statement on Sunday, mentioned the issue of IEBC as sort of the main discussion. Right now, you're insisting that all the other issues that were part of the Azimio demands must be addressed. We have also seen the Kenya Kwanza parliamentary leadership talk about this particular process to even state that there will be no handshake, which again, your team has insisted. Perhaps if the president insists on what, or Kenya Kwanza insists on what was on their list, what then happens? Then
let me first begin by the first question that you asked. We, of course, talked ourselves. Mr. Ruto made his statement. But I just want to say that that was not the basis of the understanding between the parties that were negotiating or talking between us. That statement fell far short of what had been agreed, and they know it. And that's why in our own statement, reiterated firmly what was going to be the basis of our engagement with Kenya Kwanza. And what we have reiterated in this statement is not different. We have actually mentioned the same issues that we said we wanted to be addressed. Those are the issues which made us go to the streets. And we mentioned them clearly. One, auditing of the servers so that we can put this matter to rest. We understand that some people are trying to tamper with the servers. They need to know that we are watching them. We know it, And we also know that's why we are talking about a forensic audit by experts, so that the truth can come out finally. But we want to reiterate very clearly here that if the other side does not cooperate, then we will have no other option but to go back to the trenches. And this will be maybe as early as sometimes next week.
Let me tell you something. Raila Amolo Odinga is determined. But William Ruto seems to be playing games. My main problem is just one. Raila is playing hardball. You know, when the senator was in the country and they were in a meeting with Meg Whitman, the US ambassador to Kenya, they thought that they had convinced Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila Amolo Odinga told them, well, let's have that meeting. Let's give dialogue a chance. Coons has flown back to their country, and Raila has made it very clear that this is our affair and we must solve it our own way. There is no escape route, because he has said the 5 irreducible minimum must be met, failure to which we are back to factory settings. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. This time round, it seems Raila is going to the fullest, because I told you that whatever Raila Amolo is doing is backed by the people. It is no longer about Raila himself. It is about the people. The people have been asking him, will you come back to us again to go to the streets? Because every now you are running this race. When you're about to reach the finishing line, you retreat. And that is what we thought had happened. But it seems Raila Amolo Odinga knows what he wants. According to him, they had agreed with William Ruto that William Ruto would meet all these conditions. But William Ruto has only picked one. Where do you think is the state of our nation? And where do you think we are headed? Because from where I sit, this government has been caught. Raila says, let us open the server so that we can put this to rest. It is a very simple request, and I know many people will back it up. And I told you in the earlier video that even if the Kenya Kwanza says that it is not within their power to allow opening of the server, it can be done through a parliamentary amendment bill. Just the same way we don't have the office of the official opposition leader. They want to amend it so that we can have that position. Just like we are going to amend, we are going to have parliamentary amendment so that we can have an IEBC panel that will interview those who occupy the positions of commissioners. So there is no excuse on this. And that is the basis on which we are creating these two bipartisan team. The ball is on William Ruto's court. Raila has said he's not going to listen to the West again. Raila has said that no one is going to intimidate him because he has the people, he's got the backing of the people.